Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime back at it again for another video. And we are reviewing the studio series Revenge of the Fallen, number 62, Soundwave. And now with the figure out of the way, looking at the packaging, we got an image of Soundwave right there. This is number 62, Studio Series Soundwave, Revenge of the Fallen. Transformers, and we got Revenge of the Fallen. And then right there we got Soundwave again in his satellite mode. Authentic Transformers. If I keep doing that Soundwave voice, I feel like some of you guys are not going to understand a thing I'm saying. Here on the back of the packaging, we got some product images and renders and all that kind of stuff. Here on the side, we got a nice image of his mugshot, and it says he's a deluxe class, and that's almost it for the packaging. And he comes with this cardboard backdrop that makes it look like he is floating in space. Authentic Transformers. Soundwave here does not really come with any accessories. What? Well, technically he does come with this one display stand, though. Which a mainline Hasbro product coming with its own stand is actually quite rare. It's just made out of this translucent blue plastic. It's got some nice molding and sculpting here, kind of giving it a techno kind of look. It has a little 3mm peg right there. And also here on the bottom, it does have a little swivel right there for adjustment. And then also it has a hinge right there for additional adjustments. And here's the thing, this stand doesn't just work with the Bayverse Soundwave. All your mainline Transformers pretty much all have a little 3mm port somewhere on them, and you can actually use this stand on multiple figures. But we'll touch on this stand more in his alt mode, since it kind of has to do with that more. So anyway, let's get into Soundwave's robot mode. Also, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this design for Soundwave a little bit better than his Dark of the Moon look. You what? Granted, I do like how in Dark of the Moon he has an actual alt mode to transform into, but in terms of robot mode, this is the one that takes the cake in my opinion. I like how he's got the red visor, I like how he's got this like battle mask head crest thing kind of going on, and then also I like how he's got the he has the little, the module in his chest. This is where his little cassette bots kind of come out of. So like Ravage and, you know, some of the other ones from the movies. But in, you know, satellite mode, this changes into a different position. It has a different use as seen in the movie. And overall, I like the Bayverse aesthetic with this guy because he looks a little bit more fit and more put together considering, you know, some Bayverse designs. But something I also really appreciate about this design is he almost looks kind of like a knight, like from Transformers: The Last Knight. Say what you will about that film, but I actually like the knight aesthetic that they have for those figures, and this guy kind of has that aesthetic going on for him. I actually do quite like it. Get this dude out of here! And again, in addition to all the mechanical detail on this guy, again, Bay film characters always have great mechanical detail going all over them everywhere. He also has these little dark gray speckles of paint all over the gray, just to kind of make him look slightly different than some of the rest, like, you know, just to give him a little bit more depth. Like, it looks like shading or whatever, but it's actually these little speckles of gray. Me personally, though, I would have preferred more of this silver paint and maybe even some of this transparent blue kind of scattered throughout. Or heck, even this painted blue right here would have been nice to have a little bit more kind of scattered throughout the figure. Now let's get into Soundwave's posability. It's actually quite interesting. So first off, he has a ball joint at the head along with a hinge. So it allows for his head to have a little bit of some... I am going to kill my microphone one of these days. You are going in the garbage, in a landfill. So his head has this little bit of chicken action. Because he's got a hinge joint in there and a ball joint in there, which also allows for some head pivoting, and his head can rotate from left to right, and he can look up pretty far and down a little bit. Shoulders rotate a full 360. He does technically also have some extra shoulder joints in there due to transformation, but they're a little too stiff that they kind of don't work. He also has these shoulder pads that kind of move outward, which accommodate for the shoulder moving outward. And again, the full 360 rotation also isn't hindered by these as well. He also has some bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. It looks like it's slightly over, but it just bends at 90. It's just a weird thing. And then he has no wrist articulation, but these do hinge, which, by the way, you can hinge these in, and I guess you could give him some arm blades with these, because, I mean, you might as well give him some sort of weapons, since he doesn't actually come with any handheld weapons. Now, his abdomen is a little bit weird. So due to transformation, he can't really use his waist swivel, which he does have. But when you untab it and move it around, now he can rotate his waist all over the place, which is stupid, by the way. But thankfully, due to these extra transformation hinges, you can give this guy a bit of an ab crunch and, like, you know, a little bit of extra diaphragm joints in there, but again, it makes his waist swivel kind of redundant. His hips can rotate forward, his hips can rotate backwards, and then due to the way how they're shaped, they can only move out about that far, which is fine, I guess. And then he has a hinge joint back here on this back skirt, again allows for more movement, and then he also has a thigh swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then his ankle joints are a little bit higher up in, like, the upper half of the ankle / the shin. You gotta pivot it right there in order to get some actual pivot out of there. But at least he has it, though. I'm glad he does have it, because if he didn't, this guy's posability would have been very stiff. That's what she said. And now getting into the size comparisons. Here is Revenge of the Fallen Soundwave next to the Dark of the Moon Soundwave. And overall, I do prefer how this figure looks more, how it has more silver paint and such. But again, in terms of robot mode design, I do kind of prefer this one a little bit more. It's the head that does a lot of the heavy lifting. Now, I do not own the original Dark of the Moon or Revenge of the Fallen Soundwave, but I do have the original Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Ravage, though, for comparison. And I actually still really like this figure, even though this scale is not accurate. I do still really love this Deluxe, and I still think it holds up even to this day. And then here he is with the last Soundwave I reviewed, the Generation 1 inspired Soundwave. Be sure to check out that review if you haven't seen it before. And now with comparisons out of the way, let's now get into Soundwave's laughable transformation, if you want to call it that. And yeah, I will admit, the alt mode is not really a mode. As I kind of mentioned before, again, it's just the same details that we were looking at earlier, just now they've been kind of rearranged, and Soundwave has just been kind of crumpled up into like a weird yoga pose, and now he's just kind of...
That is one big pile of shit.
But it somehow works. The main silver struts and the ones on the top really do a lot to really make this guy look like a Cybertronian satellite floating in space. My only problem is this stand is absolutely required in order to have this mode even be here, because if you don't have the stand, he just sits on the ground and just looks like Devastator's poop.
I am directly below the enemy.
And again, I understand that Soundwave is the communications officer, and being a satellite means he has access to communications, and he's able to, do all that in Revenge of the Fallen. But that being said, though, in Revenge of the Fallen, it made him stay only in space. I would have liked to have seen, Soundwave transform in robot mode and be on Earth and actually, like, maybe brawl with somebody. Like, oh wait, no, Brawl's a different character. I would have liked to have seen him in robot mode and, like, actually fight someone in hand-to-hand combat, but thankfully we got a lot more of that in Dark of the Moon, but again, I wish it was this robot design. And now getting back into the size comparisons again. Here he is with Dark of the Moon Soundwave. Here he is with re-entry mode Ravage. And of course, this Ravage doesn't actually fit in there. And then, classic Generation 1 style Soundwave where he transforms into a rectangle.
Not just any rectangles, candy bars.
Now, this figure is a bit of an older Studio Series. I mean, it's number 62, and currently right now we're past the 100 mark now at the time of this video. So like, this figure has been out for a while, and I mean, it's not the most highly sought after Studio Series, but that being said though, I still like him. He's not the best Studio Series, he didn't blow my mind necessarily, but I think this was a good figure. The biggest thing that would have made a big improvement on this guy is if the whole thing was covered in the shiny silver paint, kind of like his Dark of the Moon counterpart. And overall, I think just this design is actually really cool or whatever. It's just, again, the satellite is something that isn't really my preferred alt mode for Soundwave. It makes sense in hindsight, but overall, I just prefer Soundwave when he's, you know, a car, a truck, or, you know, just anything but a satellite or a tape deck. But again, it's just, there's nothing wrong with that, because again, there's all kinds of Soundwave figures out there. But overall, this is a good Studio Series toy. It's just not like the best one. It's not like concept art Megatron or like, you know, anything like that. But overall, if I had to give this guy a rating, I give him a very solid 6 out of 10. And again, just the fact that he comes with a flight stand is also really nice, because again, those are like really uncommon for Hasbro to do, is to include actual stands with their figures, and I like that this guy just comes with one. I would have liked maybe if it was a little bit more adjustable or a little bit more balanced. I feel like this stand tends to have him fall over a little too often, but overall, I think it's completely fine. This guy could have used maybe some extra accessories or stuff like that, but I like him. And yeah, like I said, 6 out of 10, and yeah, that is basically it for this review. If you guys liked it, give me a like on the video.
Comment below what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure videos. And Soundwave superior, these nuts inferior.